Welcome to the Process Podcast with Rod Howard, where artists, entrepreneurs, and visionaries share their stories and insights on creativity, world events, and personal journeys. Get ready to deep dive into the minds of those shaping the future.
This week, we'll be chatting with the phenomenal fashion designer and stylist, Korto Momolu, to discuss her journey into the fashion world and beyond. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get started. What was the first piece of fashion that you ever saw, whether it was on TV or film or something that somebody was wearing where you like, man, that's dope, or you kind of just became in awe of it? And this can be at any point you're like,
Any point. It definitely had to be probably in the 10th grade. I was looking through like a fashion magazine and there was these like fashion drawings and there was like this jacket and it had like flowers and stuff on it, but it was Oscar de la Renta. It was like this coat, but it wasn't the actual garment. It was painted. So I got an idea to actually take that painting and duplicate it for my sketchbook entry for art class. And I liked it. And then I just started doing it, and my art teacher noticed that I was going in a certain direction, and she asked me about it, and the rest is history.
man, that's dope. So I think I heard that in like a interview you did with Piff for a while. So you had already been doing art and everything.
Yeah, I was always an artist. I've always been an artist. That's why I tell people, like, art was my first love. And then it kind of went to dance. Like, I love dance. I actually wanted to be a choreographer. And I let it run for all money. And, but my parents weren't having it. They weren't even having the art.
Oh man, get out of here, Rick.
Yeah, it's like, so I had to choose. And then I think in high school, my art teacher really seeing me going into fashion design, I kind of got into it because I was already doing it. I was making like boxer shorts and painting on them, sneakers, t-shirts. I go to the art store and I end up in the section with the wearable art. So I was already doing it without thinking of it, and someone saw it from the outside and kind of pushed me to it. But yeah, art was always my first love. So I still love to paint and all the different mediums. Fashion is just the one that I just got the degree in.
Man, that's so cool. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you said you asked, was it an aunt that you asked to sew you how to sew or something?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah. I had a good sew, and she been sewing my whole life. Like I never, I never really had the interest, and I had to get into the design school that I applied to, and we had to make things. So she took me one summer, and we just went to work. She helped me a lot. Like, those pieces are mostly her, but I got in there based on like the work of my portfolio. But they still wanted you to see. They wanted to see where you were sewing wise going in, so they kind of knew like where you would be. But yeah, so she helped me get it all together, and it was kind of cool to have an in-house helper. Cause Lord,
Oh, look, I can't even imagine. It's random. I went to a sewing class here in Little Rock, and I don't know what I was in there doing, man. I say that to say it's so tough to like. I think it's so cool having you hearing about you having that art background and getting into design and like drawing stuff on paper. But then it's like a whole nother thing when you start talking about
all of the monsters.
drawing it and making something to life. Cause it's
That.
yeah, cause it's
A lot.
yeah, because I guess with you playing around with different fabrics, and because you don't necessarily know how a fabric is going to translate, like a drawing translates to that, and you having to be picky and choosy about that. That's crazy. So, like, at what point did you decide, like, I guess you had the experience with your aunt, you knew you were going to fashion school. Did you have, like, an aha moment where you was like, I'm finna go do this. I'm finna go pursue fashion, or like, do you remember that aha moment? Or
It's definitely in high school when I used to just look at all the things I was making, the shorts, and people would come to me like, hey, can you paint my shorts? And they'll go buy boxer shorts. This is the 90s, late 80s, 90s. So, wearing boxer shorts was a huge thing. And I went to like an all girls boarding school. So that's what we wore, boxer shorts. And we would get the plain ones, and I would just paint like happy faces on them or just whatever. And eventually it just became a thing. And I just started seeing myself doing it before even touching the sewing machine.
Oh man, that's awesome. And something else too, like I was reading over your biography and stuff. I'm sorry, I kind of cyber stalked you through my research.
I appreciate it.
But like like most people, I think a lot of times with art and design, a lot of people just think that you're gonna get into it and start doing it. But it's a lot of training, and there's an education aspect, learning about like this the education behind it. For you, I know you said you went to fashion school. Like, how do you feel like going to fashion school kind of helped you with developing your skill set?
It definitely did. Like, I tell everybody, like, I get it. We're in, the era where we're doing YouTube University and we're self-taught and this and that. But going to school goes back to that point you just made about knowing, okay, I have this picture of this dress. So how do I take it from that and know what fabrics? Like we learned everything. We had a fabric dictionary. Every single fabric that's out there, we had to go to the fabric store and find it and cut a square and put it in there. So we would have references of this is linen and this is silk. There's a million different kind of silks. There's shantung. There's oh my God, millions of fabric. So you can't just say, well, I'm gonna get some silk, but what kind of silk? You know what I mean? I'm gonna get some linen. There's different kind of linens, there's different kind of weights. Even denim. You have from this grade all the way to this grade. So knowing fabrication definitely helps because you can see something in the picture and just go to the fabric. Well, I just want some red fabric, and you just go pick any red fabric. Man, it's not gonna turn out the same because maybe that fabric was like a winter fabric. Maybe it was like a boucle or a wool that you needed to make this coat. And then you went and got this soft, stretchy cotton. And then there's a difference. Regular fabric and stretch fabrics. Those are two different things. Like there's levels to it that I think education and going to school taught me where I can be able to go into a situation like a Project Runway and know what to do. I can look at something, this is what I need to get, this is what I need to get to make it, and your mind already knows how to put the puzzle together. It's just like somebody who cooks and you say, hey, make me some greens. Anyone else making greens will have to figure it out. They already know this is what they need to put in the greens, basic foundation to even make it taste good, right? And then other stuff is just the level stuff, the little touches that they put to add their flavor it to make it theirs, to make it your own. I would say make it your own. So yeah, you have to understand what the foundation is. And there's a respect there. I get everybody's doing self-taught because it's expensive, but I think if you really want to be a fashion designer, we spend money on so much stuff, right? Frivolous things that we don't need. Stop one of those trips and just go take a course.
Right.
Learn it. Put your hands on it.
Yeah.
And really learn the technique and learn the value in it. Because I think where we are right now, we're in this fast culture. Everybody wants to get it overnight. And what's happening is those same people who are rushing to get it, when they get there, they're not ready. Because they don't have the foundation. A house without a foundation is going to fall every time. I don't care how pretty it is.
Man, that's real.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess another thing, because I imagine, like you finished school and then you just gone on and done all this other stuff. I imagine you've constantly had to continue that learning. So it's like for you at this point where you've got that strong foundation, you've been building on it. How are you how is it possible, or what are you doing to continue to make sure that you're learning and building on this foundation that you already at?
I think you have to be honest with yourself. So when I went to school, I was graded as an artist, right? I sucked at sewing and I found out very quickly. Just learning, like that was my struggle. My instructors hated to see me come in. My stuff got ripped up every day, like torn, get out of my face, go back to the drawing board, like disgust. So for me, it was like, okay, being talented isn't nothing because everybody here is talented, right? Some people can sew, but even though they're great at sewing, the stuff they're making isn't really anything I think would sell, right? So my thing is I have the talent, but I got to conquer this one thing. So even when I graduated school, no one expected me to come up on top. But I was working. I got this job in this store in the mall. It was like the hot store. Like now, maybe what, like, I don't know, H&M would be, or back in the day what Gap was. I went to the hottest store, got a job, and I would like look in the clothes and see how things were made. I liked the stuff in there, so I wanted to learn how to make things I liked. So I would buy stuff, take it apart, figure it out, and that's how I stayed close to like what was hot in fashion, what people were buying. And I would go and still sew, you know what I mean, still figure things out. So when I graduated in top 3. What? But you know what? It wasn't about my sewing skills, but I learned that day because no one thought, I didn't even think when they called my name, I was like, why are they calling my name? Somebody's like, they calling your name? I'm like, for what? But finished top 3, but it was about the clothes, the design. Could it be sellable? Would it work in the industry? And these are like people from fashion designers that were in Toronto that came and judge our show. So me hearing that said, okay, it doesn't really necessarily matter how the inside look. The outside says that I'm there. I'm in top 3 out of all these people that were here that laughed at me, thought I wasn't gonna make it, and here I am. They were their mouth. I like, close your mouth, let's get this award. You know what I mean? But it was like my little, okay, you did good. So then I was like, okay, I didn't feel good moving forward if I didn't know how to make the inside look good. Because at some point, what's the first thing people do? Well, designers, they look on the inside. Any designer friend kind of go, oh, that's my collection. And I turn away, they're going to be like, you know what I mean? So having someone look at it without like sweating to death, that was the goal.
Oh man.
I just needed to know that it was made good on the inside. It's like you make a cake and you decorate it. As soon as you eat that slice, if that pound cake is dry, it doesn't matter that it was pretty, right? It's trash.
Man, that's awesome, man. I get you making me pivot a little bit because it's like that's crazy. Like, I think that's inspiring to hear. Like, kind of like you would think, like me seeing your work and all stuff. I'm like, man, she's like prodigy, probably on top. You know what?
But it's a struggle. I tell that story all the time because people always look at it and just think, you've been moving. Like I struggle with sewing. It was not my strong suit.
That's inspiring. You telling, being transparent, talking about like that struggle, because it's like on the outside, people would just think that it's easy, but the idea that that you kind of had to had to like beat that heel out. When you were going through that process, did you ever feel like doubt or anything?
Oh yeah,
I did.
I was like, my daddy was right.
Man, so how did you overcome that?
I just, you know what I mean? I knew I had it in me, and I know that the life that I had already didn't come without struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always think about my father. Like, he grew up like the youngest of so many kids, and they grew up in like this village in like a mud house, like with nothing. You know what I'm saying? He was the oldest of 16 kids, went to school, somebody helped pay his way through it. And from that, he became like the third in government in Liberia, in the whole country. To do that, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's where I come from. So, like, failure wasn't an option for me. And I made this whole big stink about being a designer. He already didn't want to pay for me to go to school. And this woman, this complete stranger, paid for me to go to college because we didn't have any money at the time, but we had lost everything in the war in Liberia. So just this random stranger saw my sketchbook and told my mama that I had talent, and because we didn't have it, she wanted to help us, and she was going to pay for me to go to school. So then you add that. So I have these two big bricks on my shoulder. Like, there was no going back. There was no failure. I didn't know how I was gonna work out. I was gonna graduate. I didn't think I was gonna graduate top 3, but I knew I was gonna make it. Like, I'm not tell me I can't do it, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? So if you want me to do something, yeah.
Man, that's great. So did you go to high school in Liberia also, or were you in?
I went to high school in Canada solely. I went up until 8th grade in Liberia. So we traveled a lot. So like most of my life I lived in America. Like I started school here in Boston, and we moved back to Liberia. Went to school in North Carolina, then we go back to Liberia. And it was just because of the stability of the government. That's the reason why we kept leaving for school. The school is always like number one. Like, you're going to be something. Like, it was never a doubt I was going to college. Like, that's not even a question. You know what I mean? Then we knew education was the key to being successful, regardless of where you started. And, I saw that, with my parents. So, yeah. So, we always left for school because it was just more stable here, and we knew the education system was going to get us where we needed to go. But the goal is always to live in Liberia and, thrive there.
Man, I want to rewind for a second, then just kind of pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, for me sitting here hearing about like you being in high school, you getting into fashion, you deciding to go to school and you do all that. Like, if you go back and you think about even where you were with designing, like doing the art stuff and asking your auntie to sew, since then you've gone on to do, like, I know the Project Runway, and then that's going on to accomplish all other things. At that point, could you envision that any of that could have played out the way it has, like, back then?
Probably not the TV part, but in my head, I believe I could be a designer and be like Calvin Klein or Oscar de la Renta. I believe I could be one of them. And then, back then we had like Byron Mars and Tracy Reeves. Those are black designers that when I went to like the fabric store, their patterns were in the pattern book. So I'm like, oh wow, these people are black. And they look like me. They all went to Parsons. So I wanted to go to Parsons because it was way too expensive. It's like $40K. And this is back in the 80s, it was $40K. So yeah, that was out. But I was like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Like, they're doing it, so I can do it. You know what I mean? And then they're in the pattern books. You can see their work. And I started to follow designers that looked like me, even though I loved, all across the board. It didn't matter if they're black or not. But I think seeing that encouraged me to make it. Now, the other, like the TV stuff, that part I never imagined. I never envisioned. I just knew I could make my clothes and sell it. because I was already doing it. Like, I'd go buy fabric, I cut like 10 of them out, make outfits, and they're like a local store. Be like, hey, can I hear my stuff in here? And I was already doing my own manufacturing. I was like, nothing was stopping me. You know what I mean? I was one of those, I've always been like a go getter. Like, my mom was like, you always were a go getter. Like, I'll go get it.
Yeah. And then like you mentioned it, I mean, I know you get tired of probably talking about Project Runway and Runway stuff, but I feel like it was just
It's part of my life.
man, it's so awesome. I mean, it's like I know you talked about the representation piece, but I mean, even for people like this here, people in Arkansas, seeing somebody or just, people of color, period, seeing somebody that look like you on that scale. And like, I mean, that's just like all you really was saying. That's a big thing. Like going into that, just that whole experience. Like, what do you feel like you learned the most from going through all that?
Wow. Be careful what you say. Don't I like you? I mean, there's so many levels to it. I think it was really believing in myself. Like when I first saw the show came out, I just had my daughter. I was literally breastfeeding her, watching the first episode. I remember I saw the ad in Style magazine. I was telling my husband at the time, "Oh my God, look at this show!" Da 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 da. It came on. I'm literally like breastfeeding her in the first episode. Like that was my show. I was like, "Yeah, this gonna be it." So just watching the first 3 seasons and being a fan of the show, and then you get on there. For me, it was like I knew I could do it. I seen the challenges. I knew I was capable of being creative and being on the fly. Um, I've never been afraid of stepping out. Like I'm the only one that lives in Arkansas for my family, right? So we've moved our whole life. So leaving the nest wasn't an issue. I think for me, the biggest lesson I learned was to stay true to myself.
Mm.
Because like I said, going on the show was one thing, but I knew, and that goes with anything from watching other shows, it's going to be always like the token Black, Asian, whatever. So going in, I didn't want to be the token stereotypical Black girl. Like I'm African, I live in America. There was just so many different sides of me. I didn't want to be put into this Black girl box. So I was very clear that if that's who you're wanting, that stereotypical girl that does all the snapping and all the things, that I wasn't her. I'm educated. My parents are educated. We're African. We're proud of it. I'm proud of my culture. This is my story. I have kids. I have a child that's watching. And I want to represent that girl. I believe in God. I'm going to be speaking about God on here. Like, if that's not what y'all want, then I love that I made it to the top 25, but y'all don't have to pick me because I'm not going to do it.
Man, I think that's such a important point. And I think lesson for people at home, just in general, because it seems like when you're trying to move up the social echelon or whatever, whatever you're doing.
But Sell Your Soul,
Yeah,
right here, it's in every industry.
yeah,
And, like even being on the show after being on there the first time and you come back now as All Stars, now it's still Sell Your Soul is there because now what you're going to do is stay in the limelight. Can you say this? Well, what about this? And the last time I went on, I was in a separation. They wanted to make that part of the show. I was like, no, he's off guard. He's not, we don't talk about him. That's my children's father. So he's off. We're separated. That's what you're going to get. If you want the rest of the story, you can Google it like everybody else and check on the public records. But we're not talking about him here. Next, we're not talking about me being single and trying to give my, they're trying to spin it so many different ways. And it's easy to fall into it because you think, oh, they're interested in me. No, they just want to use you. They want to infiltrate your life and blow it up however they want, like a hailstorm. And then the next day they're gone and they're on to the next. And then now you're here picking up the pieces from this life that you didn't started talking about your family and dogging this, all the things. And you have to still live in that.
yeah.
And they're gone. They're on to the next. They're not even thinking about you no more. You were just a project. And I think when you understand, when you go on TV, you're just a project. And they're trying to make this project the biggest, best one with all the tweets and all the great zingers. And how are you going to play in that? So I think going on, I knew, okay, be funny. In my confessionals, I'm always funny. I'm going to say a little cute little something to get the air bites, the sound bites that they want. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to dress in my clothes. So every time I do get seen, something's being sold. This hat, these earrings. Because now I know the game. I know the the little lines that people don't read in their contract. I know coming on All Stars, I'm not gonna make it to the end. I might make it to the end, but I'm not gonna win. So what am I doing this for? What am I gonna get out of this? I'm gonna get some sales and make sure my website is popping. So when I'm writing my episodes down, what I wore, make sure it's on my website when this episode airs. I make sure I'm there. I'm funny. I'm showing all the things, and yeah, I'm selling myself. And yeah, I'm giving you the little zingers here and there, but I'm also gonna let you know you're not gonna play with me. And I also know by doing that, I might be labeled as the angry black woman, and that's okay, because I can support myself in that. I can stand 10 toes down on everything I said, but yeah, you have to go on there and have some respect for yourself, because if you don't, we've seen who has not, and you see what's happened to their life. Yeah, they're in the news and everybody knows them, but for what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't ever want to be a part of that.
I think you drop so many gems in that. I think just that's applicable to like so many different, like so many different fields of life. Just establishing your boundaries when you go into these spaces, advocating for yourself, stand up.
People will respect it.
Yeah, yeah,
People think that if you don't do it, yes, they will. They want you.
yeah.
You want me? Because clearly you keep calling me every time. You never let me win, but you keep calling me, so there's something there. So I know my worth.
Yeah.
So now you're going to work for it. Even this last time we went on, they were trying to get us to do it for free. I said, no, the last time I did, we got paid. But y'all ain't got no money at Bravo. That's fine, I understand. But I get somebody else. Y'all can get somebody else to do it. I'm good. And I went on with my life. And then they came back and said, we found some money. Oh, yeah, I thought y'all would. Yeah. Don't do me.
Man, that's so cool.
You have to know your business. You
Yeah.
have to know. But when you're so eager, so many people are just eager to go on. They weren't even talking. I was like, all of y'all owe me a cut. Because it's because of me we're even getting paid for this. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna do this for free? That's 6 weeks of my life. 6 weeks where I have to shut my business down. I have to leave my children now. You know what I mean? What am I doing for 6 weeks and then I leave with nothing?
Man, no, that's real. So I had to say with that though, man, it's like you pivoted from there, and I think, like you said, a lot of people will probably do something like that. And, they fizzle out or just whatever. But you managed to like go from there and like have a really good career and still continuing to like build from there. And like the thing I think that is the coolest is that you going from there and you still make time to like help out like younger talent and people that are developing. Like, how important do you think, or can you speak to the importance of making sure that you're like taking care of like younger generations, or make sure like everything that you do, I feel like it inspires like younger women of color or just younger men and women of color with your action. How important is it for you to do that, like coming off of like after everything that you've accomplished or that you continue to accomplish?
I think it's for me. So I talked about that story about going to college and this stranger. It was really this woman at my church. So backstory: there's a war in Liberia. So even though my parents were high ranking, my dad was high ranking in government, he had to escape. There's a war. We lost everything. So we got to Canada. We're able to get a home and get a car, just the basics of life, or whatever they were able to get out of the banks before one of the banks actually crashed because everybody went and took their stuff out. So imagine now, my whole life I've been pushed to go to school. Now I'm finally here, I'm graduating, and we ain't got no money. Now I can't even go to college. Like, that whole dream literally died with all of that. So to have this complete stranger see something in me that at the time I gave up, I was like, okay, well, I guess it's just gonna be one of those things where I woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? To have a complete stranger now see something in me, take her money and sow it into me, I felt like it was like a debt that I could never pay. So me giving back, I feel like, is me just paying that forward. Like, that changed my life. Because I was in a depression. I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to be, anything. I didn't know what my future is going to be. I'm 16. What do you do at 16? Like, you just wallow. Like, I just draw it off. I would sketch all day and just be in my feelings, thinking it was over. And she gave me another chance at life. And that gift gave me that education that I've been able to use. That's what got me in these other rooms. So if it wasn't for that one seed, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't even be talking to me. You see what I'm saying? I could have went a whole different route. Maybe became the lawyer my dad wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? Wanted me to be. But because of that, I feel like you have to. Like, I went on the show. I didn't go on there to be nobody's role model. I went on there to get the money and to start my line. And then when I got home, I started getting like all these phone calls from like other Liberian girls, emails at the time, Facebook messages, saying, because I watched the show with my mom, I want to be a designer. And just like you, my parents didn't want to pay for it. But after watching you, my African parents said I can go to fashion design school now. So because of that, it put value into fashion design. Because, back home, tailors are men. When we went to the tailor back home, it was always a dude. It was never a woman. It was always a man, and was never called fashion design. It was just like a tailor, and it wasn't any kind of respect in it. It was just the person you go to make your clothes, and they got X amount of money. That's when my dad's like, yeah, he ain't about to do that. It wasn't fashion design, which is a whole other thing. So I think putting the light to like African parents and just African culture that, yeah, we can be in fashion design and it's marketable and it's valuable and all the things. That's what that show did. And that's what opened up those doors. And I think being African and being proud of being African and just being Christian, all those things, being me, sold me. So when I left, those phone calls came and they couldn't even stop it. They were like, Tim Gunn was calling me. People keep calling my office looking for you because I wasn't really, it was what, Facebook was popular back then. Instagram wasn't even popping yet. So like people couldn't find me. I didn't have a website yet. My first time on, I didn't know anything. I just went on the show. I didn't know what was going to happen. So now like it's blowing up. Now I'm having to get a manager because it's so much. And most of those jobs were African related. The African Student Union at this school was having something. They want you to come. Like I was like their face and their voice. And they were proud of my representation. I didn't embarrass them. That's one thing about African people. Don't embarrass us. We're not going to fool with you. They're not. But I made us look good.
Yeah. Man, you talk about like your heritage and something I love about your art. I mean, your artwork. It is artwork, but artwork, fashion. There's so much of that African influence in it. But it's like even just sitting here talking to you, getting more like finding out more about like your upbringing and growing up. How do you feel like going from being in Liberia to Canada to Arkansas? I know you probably been asked this, but how has that influenced your work also? Like, like how, I mean, has it influenced your work at all? Like with, cause it's still very, I see the African, influence on a lot of it, but has any of that other stuff shaped it at all?
Not really. I wouldn't say. I think holding on to the African part was because we're in exile for so long. It really makes you hold on tighter to your culture. So, like, in our house, that was Liberia. We still spoke our lingo. We still ate the food. The morals, everything was still there. Like, we weren't going to be Canadian now because we're in Canada. We ain't going to be American now. Like, when you come to this house, you Liberian. We don't do that. That's what they do. So all that is still put in you. And then, I think moving down here kind of helped because it's still so very natural, and I think it did help kind of settle me a little bit because I was like big city, big city, big city. But I think the natural elements of Arkansas and the cultural and the community part of it really stole my heart because I didn't want to be here. I was like, God is punishing me. I did something in the past, and this is my punishment of all the places. Lord, you choose this. I didn't want to start the road. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted it to already be built. Like, I was in Atlanta before I moved here, and I was like, what? There is no road to pass. I gotta do the brakes. Yeah, and I really only did it because I was like, it ain't gonna work out. I'm just gonna do it to prove it's not gonna work out, and maybe, we'll move to Atlanta. But I did, and it did work out. You know what I mean? Like, this is where I was supposed to be. I really believe, like, this is where I was supposed to come.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to ask like 3 more questions, and I promise I'll leave you alone.
Oh, you good.
So like, I always like to ask people this, like, again, if I want to go back to like you being this, 16, 17-year-old girl, like painting fashion kinds of stuff. If you could go back in a time machine and give 16-year-old Kato some advice, what would you tell her?
I think I did this as a post on my Instagram page once. I would just tell her to just own everything that you believe. Like, everything you believe is true. Like, don't doubt anything that comes to your head. Everything that you think you're going to be that. Watch your money, girl. Save your money. Go to school. Do everything you can to get everything you can so that you can get it done in a certain way. Like, I'd be more focused in school.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have, 16-year-old me would have been like taking side sewing classes with my auntie because I never even took her up on that. I was just struggling by myself because I just had to do it. Like, don't do everything by yourself. You can have a tribe. You can have a support system, and when you're open to that, things will get better.
Mm.
But you are going to make it. That's what I would tell her. You're going to make it.
And for that 16, it may pivot a little bit. It's very similar, but I know you work with a lot of kids now. Sometimes they're like out there with mysteries and stuff. But like for that 16-year-old girl that's like, I don't know, in math class, working on her designs, or the little boy that's working on their designs, what would you say to them?
You know, I see them now. I see them at Westland, and I see them all the time. They send me pictures. I always tell them to just know who you are. Because if you know who you are, no one's going to change you, right? But when you don't know who you are, because now maybe when you're drawing stuff, you're doing stuff because the Migos did it, or you're doing stuff because Cardi B did, or this person. But what do you do for you? What do you like? You know, I always ask designers, like, who's your favorite designer? Who's your girl? Who are you making stuff for? You can't answer those questions. You got to go back to the drawing board. And people get mad all the time, like, you're being too hard. No, I mean, you got to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, someone can come and tell you who you're going to be, or they can influence you to be who they want you to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happens on shows like that. They want you to be a certain way. Well, maybe you should, there's one guy from there, he was from Haiti. Maybe I think you're more a sportswear. He loves making gowns. So I'm like, well, do you want to make sportswear? Because if you don't. And if you want to figure out how to do both, but don't change your identity till someone says that that's what they think you should do. You know what I mean? Like when my art teacher saw me going into fashion, I was already liking it. So she wasn't telling me to do it. I was already on the path. She was just telling my young self, hey, this is where I see you going. Is that where you want to go? And if that's where you want to go, I'm going to help you get there. And that's what we did. So know who you are. Figure that out. Ask yourself some questions. And if you don't know, intern. Go and work with some people. Before I actually went on the show, went to Fashion Week, I interned with designers during Fashion Week. I finally got to Parsons. I did like a summer course there. And while I was there for the summer, the shows came up for Fashion Week in New York. I signed up for every designer that needed an intern backstage, and I was backstage because that's where the magic happens. Everybody thinks it's in the front row. No. Backstage, that's where the garment fell apart, and you got to zip that stuff up and sew it up together real quick in 2 seconds so she can get out there. Like, that's where all the excitement is. And my first show, I was like, oh my God, I love it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's when I knew, like, yeah, this is what I love.
All right, I'm sorry, I told the tale. So I got 3 questions now. I'm sorry. This is something I think is a cool question to ask people. What does it cost to be you? And when I ask that, like, I mean, like, a lot of people see stuff on the outside and it looks easy. You know what I mean? Like, you look at people on the internet that do things, people that are successful, and you look at them and it looks easy, but people ain't realize how much work goes into it. So something I like to ask people, you don't have to get too deep, but it's like, what does it cost to be you?
I think for me, it's not even monetary. It's my time. It costs my time. It costs my mental health, because every situation is different. Like if I'm taking on clients, people come in with insecurities, big egos, like so many things. So when you're coming in, I'm not just making a dress. Now I'm a therapist. Now I'm trying to make this woman feel comfortable in her skin, so we can make her this out there for her to see beauty in that mirror when she looks at it, because everybody outside and told her different. You know what I'm saying? So it comes with all that. It comes with all my brain power. It comes with my emotional time, you know what I mean? Because I'm away from my children. So while I'm here filming this show, I have 2 kids that are like, Mama, when you coming home? That's all they want to know. They don't want to know nothing else. I don't care about none of that. When you coming home? When you going to be home? So those are the things that people don't really consider. They just think about it when I'm paying you. But that $500 or $200, whatever you give somebody, doesn't take the fact that, I'm taking care of my mom at home, and now I have a nurse calling me to say that, she can't sleep. So while I'm doing your dress and making you feel secure and okay, I got about 4 people looking for me right now. You know what I'm saying? That I still have to put a pause on to do you before I can get back to that. And that never stops. So I think when people, I hope these people are listening, the ones that want to hire you to do stuff and host something. Oh, it's just this, and oh, it's just an auction item. Well, that auction item cost me $87 to make that beautiful necklace that you have, and going to 5 stores, Argenta, 2 in New York, 1 in Nashville, and these I just found at a random flea market I went to last week, and I sat there and put it all together in 3 to 4 hours, over a course of 2 weeks. And so I sell it for $350 or whatever, but then you want me to give it for free.
Yeah, see, that's why I like that question, because like,
Yeah.
people pay a price, and it's like, it's not, when I say price, it's not monetary. Like, you pay a price with
Yeah, you have to make me whole again.
Yeah,
And that's what people don't understand. And then I come to your show, I host it, right? You don't want to pay me, but you want me to do autographs. You want me to touch all these souls and talk to them. And they want to tell me how I'm their favorite and how it should, I relive my trauma literally over and over. That's what I'm doing. I'm reliving my trauma over. I'm trying to make you feel okay with me losing something. I've already, you know what I'm saying? All of that. All of that. Take these heavy suitcases with these clothes and I'm steaming them and having to now make this size 22 model who can fit in a size 16 Albert fit. Like all those things I'm doing for this one price that I gave you. And sometimes it seems too much for people to do. But then people have bought tickets. It's full out there. People are standing up because you just put my name and my picture on your flyer. But there's no value in me coming now because you feel like I'm charging you too much.
Man, that's a lot. So I gotta ask these too. So another question, I love to follow up that question with another one, because it's like everything that people do, like, whether it don't matter whether you're a musician, don't matter whether you're a politician, when you see people that are truly great at something, it's not fun every day. I would argue it's probably not fun. Probably about 70% of the time, depending on what you actually doing work. Yeah, because it's work. You gotta actually do it. So it's like, it's some days, I don't know if you can relate, but I know it's probably some days you get up and you like, I know for me, I'd be like, I don't want to touch no camera today. I don't want to do, so.
The last 2 months of my life, I haven't sewn anything. I haven't sewn anything. I don't even know where my sewing machine is. Somewhere in my garage.
Man, so it's like,
Yeah.
one thing I have to ask, or I always like ask people, so what is your why? Because it's not easy. And you gotta, like, to get up and do stuff on days is tough, and have the discipline to continue to do it. You gotta have something that fuels. So my question is, what is your why? What fuels you to continue to get up, put in the work, and make these beautiful garbs and do all the shows and stuff? Because it's not easy. I know you get that when you at the end of the show and you waving, it's cool, but all the other stuff, what is your wow? That's fueling you to get up and do.
Speaking of that way, you do all that for that 5 minutes. All that is for that 5 minutes because models will come out. Brandon, how y'all doing? 5 minutes. Months. I do it because I love art. I love creating. And when I'm creating, I'm my happiest. Even like when we had lost everything in the war, like my happiest times is with my sketchbook in the corner somewhere sketching. In those moments, it didn't matter that we lost everything, that people were dying. It didn't matter that we didn't have no money. There's a love there and there's like a feeling, kind of like reading. I love to read, like when you're reading a good book, everything stops. Nothing matters. I don't even, the house is burning. Oh, like I've gotten left places being left, deep in a good book. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me is just the love of creating, like to create something that was in my head and make it come to life, or didn't even start making it and pivot it to something else. And then I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like my very first piece I make in every collection is my favorite piece because it's the one that sets the tone for where we're going to go. The story I'm trying to tell, that very first piece. And until I get it done, nothing else can get made. You know what I mean? I got to put it in words into fabric. I like to tell stories. I don't just make O's. There's always like a story. Every collection is based on like what I'm going through at the moment. But yeah, the creativity, just being creative and being able to take something from nothing. And then even if people steal it or copy it, like they can never get in here. Like this is the vault. So you will never be me. And I think being able to be me, that's how I show myself with my work.
Man, that's awesome. So I know you probably got a bunch going. I don't know. So what is next for you? I mean, you've done so much and you're continuing to do so much. And I know, so what's next? What do you want to what do you want to make sure you accomplish?
I think right now I just turned 50. So I know.
Yeah, really?
I just turned 50 in February. It's hard saying I did not forever.
Nah, man,
I don't feel 50.
you don't look 50, man.
I'm saying I think it. I'm thinking of my legacy. You know what I mean? Like it's always like that Beyonce song. Like I was here, and when I leave, I want people to know I was actually here, not because they saw me on TV, but something. And that's kind of why I help people like that. That touching people's lives, like that keeps you alive. You know what I mean? That keeps your legacy going. So for now, I'm wanting to start my foundation. I would love to like be able to give back, not a full school, maybe some kind of incubator process where I can get designers from all over the world and help them. And because I know the struggle is a struggle and everybody doesn't know how to get through. So I would love to still continue that, helping other designers to get where they need to go through my foundation. I want to start my podcast. I've been talking about it forever. Where I know so many people in the industry, like models and makeup artists, designers, but tell me the story because people always think it's this and it's not really this, it's that. In so many other ways, it's more beyond just the clothes you buy. But I think telling those stories will help people to understand, like when they go and buy a piece, why they're buying it or why is this price or why it looks like this. I think we've lost touch with that when it comes to like fashion. Everything's fast now. Is this there? Is this top? I don't know why it's that top. Is this that top? Whereas back then, like designers had vision and it'd be like, well, this is because, XYZ and da 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 da. And it was like, and you would see it come to life on the runway. Now we just see stuff. We don't know why it was made or what was the inspiration behind it. Like there's just like a cleansing of just things that just matter. I think we're just so much into this quick move. So I'm gonna slow things down. You just go back to the regular things and retire. Fashion shows are cool, but if I never do another one, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? I want to touch people. I want to do things and be more in the community. And go back to Africa. I would love to open a school in Liberia. Oh, in my dad's name. He passed away 2 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry. So I would love to just, honor him in that way. Keep that legacy. Put the names on the buildings. Put the names on the room. Lil Rock's gonna give me a street before I leave. Oh. Keep that legacy going. I already talked to Frank. Come on, Frank. Work on it. So I think my time here is ending though. I feel like I've outdone the city. I've outgrown it. I've given back, and it'll always be home. I think that's what Lil Rock gave me. It gave me home, because we bounce around for so much. Like this is the place I stayed the longest in my life. So this is home. So I'll always be home. But I think it's time to move on to something else.
That's fair. And I promise, you just made me think of this one last question. I won't ask you anything else. So, if you had to give this chapter, if your life was a book and you had the title, this chapter, what would the title of this chapter be?
It would definitely be Blossomed. I blossomed here. I came here. I had the talent. I did the school. I even went back to school. But I feel like, like those flowers that kind of come and they're closed and you don't know when they're going to open. I just think I bloomed. I blossomed. And a lot of my dreams came to life here. I did my first show here. And, the last show I did before I went on Project Runway was here. Like, just so many things. I think of all the things I've done in the city, people I've met, opportunities that I've been able to do. Like I did the uniforms at Crystal Bridges.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? Based on me being me. So I feel like I made my mark and I've solidified my part of the community. But now I think it's the selfish part. Now I want to dig those weeds up, flower dead, everything, and start from scratch.
Oh man, well, dude, that's awesome, man. I gotta tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you, I'm a fan of everything you've done. You're truly an inspiration. Like just seeing everything you do, man. Like I don't know, it fires me up. It's inspiration, and I know everybody is watching this probably feel.
You need to hear that. The people like me, we need to hear those things. You know what I'm saying? Like it keeps you going. Like.
No, it's awesome.
Keep going.
Well, thank you for everything that you do. And thank you because I know your schedule's crazy busy. Thank you for taking time to come be on the podcast. For everybody at home, if you found this meaningful or you enjoyed it or you think that you could share it with somebody, please make sure that you like, share, and drop a comment. Till next time, y'all stay encouraged. All right. Thank you. That wasn't too bad, was it?
Friday.